Ange Postecoglou is with us again this morning, the now premiership coach yet again. The Restless, Ange Postecoglou. Melbourne victory it is, another challenge.
It is, yeah. It's been a big week for me. That's an understatement. I was preparing myself for it, and you kind of prepare, hopefully, for the best case scenario. But even in the best case scenario, it has been a hectic week. And
it must have been a real wrench for you because what lives in my memory in a short week, Bessart Berisha. After that game, he made a beeline for you. I thought the hug was going to go on forever. He wouldn't let you go. What that said to me is that you'd established personal relationships with these players, and it must have been tough.
It was. You do. You invest a lot. And, if you work in any sporting club, you invest a lot. And Bessart, as we already know, is not one to hide his emotions. But it is. You feel a bond there. It was a tough day on Tuesday when I walked in. I think most of the people saw the writing on the wall with my body language before that. But to actually tell the players was tough. You don't know what you're going to get with Bessart. I was worried I might get the other extreme reaction, so I got out of the room pretty quickly after I told them. But
how long have you kept the secret?
Oh, look, I probably made my mind up, I've said probably about a month ago, just before the final series. But I literally, when I did decide that, I just put it out of my mind again. I was so determined for us to be successful. I didn't want anything to compromise that. As I said, just because it had settled in my mind, I didn't really want that to infiltrate anywhere else. And for the last month, all I've been thinking about is winning the grand final again. And I guess subsequent to that is when, again, it started kicking in.
It does strike me that this is the hardest manoeuvre to pull off, to not jilt the club you're leaving, and in fact to have them feel grateful to have had you and embrace you on the way out, and then walk into the biggest club as an embraced figure as well. You have walked an extremely fine line particularly well.
Yeah, you kind of never know how. Usually as a coach, you're ending at a club very rarely is heralded as something positive. You find it hard. Usually it's because you haven't been doing well. I understand people would be disappointed in me leaving Brisbane, and that was part of the acceptance of what I did. So, I have no issue with that. But I guess, as I said, when I was mulling it all in my mind, there's a timing of things in life that you try and get right. It's not always there. But for me, it looked like things had lined up and it was the right time for me. I've said to a few people that the challenge, I probably could have stayed at Brisbane for another year. Then the question becomes, does the opportunity for the next challenge, is that going to be there in a year's time? And they're the kind of things I had to weigh up.
So you walked into Melbourne and you've had a look at all the contracts and the salary cap and the deals, and, well, we know you've cancelled a planned holiday, so clearly things weren't quite what you expected.
Oh, it's not that they're not what you expect. You have this plan in your head about how you're going to smoothly transition from one job to the other, but that's not how it works, particularly in coaching terms. And I know when I came down for the presser on Thursday, it was just to do the press conference and announce it, but then I sat in my new office for about an hour and had a look at things, and I thought, well, yeah, I've got to tell my beautiful wife that the holiday will have to wait for a little while. There's a lot of work to be done, but I guess that's why I made the decision. I kind of knew somewhere along the track it'll be a massive challenge for me.
And who is going to be the first coach in football in a national competition to win 3 premierships at 3 separate clubs, yourself or Wayne Bennett?
Oh, look, the name Wayne Bennett's been brought up a bit with me lately, and I'm nowhere near in that sort of exalted company. They're the kind of things that drive me, though, for sure. We've got some great coaches in all the footy codes, in this country, and I guess that's part of my drive. Can I do something that hasn't been done before, or try and make my own little mark in the Australian sporting consciousness? Because particularly coming from our code, where I think we've struggled maybe for recognition, rightly so in many cases, because we lack credibility in so many areas. But that's my challenge, and I guess that's one of the reasons I've come to Melbourne Victory.
Well, the new coach on the block, because you've moved on, is Rado Vidosic. Let's hear from him.
Ange is size 12, I'm size 7. So there's enough room to step into his shoes. There won't be any changes. As a matter of fact, we need to develop even further. We have a very successful style in the A-League. Now we need to find a successful style in the Asian League. So that will be our next step forward.
Is that what he's saying? He plans to succeed in Asia where you failed?
Oh, so he should. I mean, I'm sure that he sees it as a bit of a challenge. He did have a couple of cheap shots at me after I left about my size and so forth. They never did that when I was there. Well, not to my face anyway. So, no, he's a good man, Rado. Look, I feel comfortable that I've left Brisbane Roar in a really good place in terms of being able to take the next level, and that's his challenge now, to take it there.
What are the chances, Barry, of Harry Kewell being at Melbourne Victory next year?
I think there's a good chance. It is a complicated deal and a complicated scenario, and we all work in sporting codes where they're fairly regulated, fairly hard with salary caps and limitations. So the intentions are there for him to stay, and I want him to stay over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm hoping that it all gets sorted out, but I'd like him to stay.
And what does Victory need? And let me offer up speed for a start, but what do you think they essentially need?
Yeah, look, we're going to change the way they play for sure, and I think speed, mobility, I think defensively that there's a fair bit of work to be done there restructuring-wise. And, I've kind of said I don't want to really replicate what I did at Brisbane. I think if I do that, I may as well stay there. So I've got some ideas in my head about doing things a little bit differently, so there'll be some changes.